I love the idea of dressing up. And then also, I hate the idea of having to plan for things. So, like, it
Sure.
just hasn't happened for me. Like, every year, I just get later and later and thinking, what should I do? And then now I just don't do anything.
Yeah, fair.
Good. We're on, and that comment came to the audience with no context. We were
I'm a bat. We're talking about Halloween. That's, I don't know what you heard. We were waiting for it to come on, and now it's on. So, hello and welcome to Nonfiction Book Club. This is the vibe. This is the vibe of Nonfiction Book Club.
Yep.
We've correctly captured that here.
Yep. Completely.
I'm Nicole Sweeney. This is my YouTube channel. I don't know what else to tell you by way of introduction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Who are you?
I'm Deboki. I'm Deboki. I'm just gonna say that over and over. I'm Deboki. That's who I am. Not my YouTube channel. Not my monkeys. Not my YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
If we had a tagline ability, that's what I'll have to add to my little display in the future. A little taglines. I'll give us taglines next time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's it. That's who we are. Welcome to Nonfiction Book Club.
Yeah. Are you working on the widget?
Yeah, I was. Yes, that is.
So behind the scenes, Nicole is working on a widget that will make it easier for us to see your guys' comments as we're talking.
Yeah.
So I'll let her do that, and I can introduce the book.
Oh, okay. Well,
we don't usually do this.
We don't.
You have a spiel.
I did. Yeah, I took notes this time.
Okay, you have. Great. Okay, you should do it.
I wrote down because I feel like I usually when this is my task, I get on and I read the title. Here, yeah. I'll tell you.
Yeah,
I'll demonstrate. I'll demonstrate for you how this usually goes. So this month we're talking about Ruin Their Crops on the Ground: The Politics of Food in the United States from the Trail of Tears to School Lunch by Andrea Freeman, and that's what the book is what it says. So today I was like, you know what? This time I'm going to be prepared and I'm going to write something down to explain this book. So this book traces how food has been used to not only feed people, but also to control them. It is a collection of examples from the forced starvation of indigenous communities to the inequalities that exist in today's school lunch system. Ruin Their Crops on the Ground is about how what ends up on our plates is shaped less by personal preferences than by power, policy, and profit. That's what it is. How'd I do? How was that?
You did great.
Thank you.
You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing I do like to do with books, this book specifically, because it is like, we'll get into this about, the structure of the thing, but because it is fundamentally a collection of individual essays. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe, well, let's get into it. So
yeah.
How did you feel about... Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like your summary is what I wish this book did.
Okay.
I think your summary is accurate to the intentions of the book, and it also was more direct and better able to get that point across than a lot of what this book was for me. I struggled with this book, and it left me particularly struggling with the question of whether or not people are right when they say that audiobooks are not reading, because I listened to this primarily on audiobook, and I really struggled with it. And it was like, today I went back through the physical book and I realized, like, no, I was struggling with this for reasons that are rooted in the writing, and those got magnified in the audiobook experience because I couldn't easily track back to be like, wait, these two thoughts are connected in this way, they're not connected. Like, I had a hard time as I was listening to this book kind of making sense of what the author was doing. Even though I know, like, it's so clear, like, from, like, even if you had just read the title of the book, the goal of this book is so abundantly clear. And in one way, I think it is very effective about its fundamental point of showing that food is like used as a tool of oppression in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. I
Yep.
think it's very effective at that. What it's less effective, or at least in my experience of it, and I'm really curious about other people's experiences, is like it just didn't really go much further beyond that. And I think it wanted to, and for me, it was less successful in doing that.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I think that like this is a really short book. Like there's it's fairly
Mm-hmm.
thin, and I think that that is very much to its detriment. Like that to me is the biggest thing. Like I think that it would have been a lot more effective with more setup. The feeling that
Yeah.
I got from reading this book, it's funny that like one of what back when we first started nonfiction book club, one of the things we were
Mm-hmm.
both sort of talking about like what we had, you know, the deep lore here is that we had both independently decided that we really wanted to do a nonfiction book club, and we were talking about it. We're like, oh my god, let's do it with each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like so we had like slightly different kinds of things that we like wanted out of it, and like for
Yeah.
me the thing that like most called me where I was like this is like what I want is that I was missing like the experience of like sitting in a grad school classroom of like having read something that I only like half understood and then like getting with a bunch of
Right.
other people and being like okay we're like hashing this out, we're getting it, whatever. The experience
Yeah.
that I had reading this book is like it to me feels like its ideal setting is as like something that is assigned in a class. Like it feels like it is missing
Mhm.
some like it's missing a container. Like it's this
Yeah.
the like the book itself is not it's not it's an insufficient container, and it feels like
Mhm.
it needs like if I were in a class on like you know like the socio-political implications of food, the sociology of food is a class that I would have taken in undergrad, and like
Huh.
reading this, having this as an assigned textbook in or an assigned whatever book that you had to buy for the sociology of
Right.
food, where like you're being assigned the individual like chapters as opposed to here sit down, because like that's how it would be structured in a classroom, right? Like in a classroom it wouldn't be here go
Right.
read this book and then we're going to come back. It would be like
Yeah.
this week we're talking about the you know policies of with like indigenous tribes, and then like we would read
Mhm.
that chapter and like that would be the like
Right.
the way it would be structured, and then it would be awesome, like it would be a fantastic book for something like that.
Yeah.
But as its own container it's like it's missing something.
Yeah. I agree. And it's like in multiple dimensions, I was missing a lot of discussion. Like, I think for me, coming from like the science medicine curious side, I really needed a chapter that like actually explored what a healthy diet, like, what does it mean to have a healthy diet? Because I think this book like really assumes that we're all on the same page about like good foods, bad foods. I'm putting that in quotes because I think it's like a really like hard, like I don't like to like kind of inherently put that as like the categorization. Um have
Sorry,
we gone blank?
we did we're back, sorry.
Okay, okay, okay. That was the face. I thought I was doing something and I was
No,
like, oh
sorry.
no.
When we
Yeah.
disappeared,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
made a face that only Deboki could see because we had disappeared.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. I also like did not put that together that nobody else would have seen that face.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, like so like she really like I think the book is assuming that we're on the same page of like what a healthy diet looks like.
Hmm.
And even that just like culturally is really loaded, which I think is part of the point of this book, but is also like a really complicated thing to discuss. Like it's just
Yes.
hard for me to fully be on the same page of like what the some of the arguments are in the book, because I'm like I'm not sure if we necessarily have like what it looks like for us to have an ideal whatever that looks like
Yes.
diet. Like what does
Yes.
that actually mean? Is it
Yes.
just the elimination of fast food? Is it the elimination of processed foods? Like is
Yes.
like what is the specific like nutritional thing we're aiming for? It's like that's just like inherently something that I'm just like missing from this book. Like that, and
And
that's like one of the things.
and yeah, and like and is like it's a problem that it's not there because she is spending so much time, excuse me, talking about like all of these examples of bad diets of food, of the politics of food imposing bad diet on people, but like
Mhm.
never, it's not really defined, it's never defined, but she brings it
Yeah.
up repeatedly. It comes up in like
Mhm.
multiple chapters, like various policies that are causing, you know, uh
Yeah.
like
Yeah, like
this
health,
flame.
yeah,
Yes,
health
yes,
issues, all of this stuff. And like
yes,
she does like make the argument for there being health issues, but even then I think the connection to diet is not really effectively made by the
yes,
book. And it's that, like, really my frustration with the book is that there are a lot of things that she says that I like, it's not that I don't believe them, but I need a stronger argument for
yes,
them in the book to feel fully convinced by the story that she's trying to tell. Like the other big piece that I really was constantly hoping for more of, both because I think it was essential to the argument she was making, and also I thought it would have been really interesting, is she caught like the other thing that we are kind of almost meant to assume with her is like this idea that the problem is this connection between the USDA and big corporations, big
mm,
ag. And there are a few ways in which like we like see in the book that like different lobbying groups have made certain, like milk in particular is the one that like gets a lot of the focus on in the book, and like why is that such a staple of the
right,
diet in the US when a lot of people can't really digest it very well. But like overall, like I the USDA is like one of the big bads in this book over and
yeah,
over, but we don't really get a sense for why, like how, like I don't really think I know anything about the USDA beyond some of the policies that are getting implemented. And I'm
uh-huh,
like, I fully believe that the USDA is enacting policies that are racist and like oppressive
yes,
and making it really difficult for people to access a healthy diet. But because I'm just missing this like backstory of why is it this way, like I
yes.
just don't fully get the story that's being told.
Yes, you have to like set up and explain the USDA. Yeah, yeah. There's
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah, yeah.
again, that's part of like the container that like yes, like that's an additional like container piece that I feel like it is missing. Like there are like that's the thing. Like this book feels like a collection of interesting and compelling like pieces, but they're like free floating,
Yeah.
and like there's just like yeah, like significant like structural undergirding like things that it does not have. That's a big one. And like there are a bunch of places for that reason that like especially later in the book she starts make like drawing like big, making pretty big strides in the arguments that she's making in ways that like, I mean, to go back to your point, she talks about, you know, bad health outcomes in different communities, where there are also these sort of, you know, food policies in place, right? But she's never defined a good diet for us. She hasn't
Mhm.
really given us like the context for the USDA. Like there are all these other sort of things there, and in those cases, like, you know, as a sociologist, there's like a bunch of other, there are like a lot of other factors that are worth exploring as to,
Right.
that would contribute to those health outcomes. Like diet
Mhm.
absolutely is one, and I, but like you haven't done enough to set the stage of like what is like what's good, like what is our spectrum here of good to bad diet,
Yeah.
like where this is existing. And so because you haven't done that, you start talking about all these worse health outcomes, and it's like there are so many other things that I am curious about. You know, like what is the land like in those communities? What like factories are there? What like there, you know, there's a million other things that you would poke
Yeah.
at,
Right.
to that like work together, that like I am certain are working together to contribute to some of these health
Right.
outcomes. And that doesn't in any way negate what she's trying to say about food and like food policy, but it is a lot weaker because it's like not there. And so, and then to have her like later in the book, like this is a thought that I was having kind of early on in some earlier chapters. And so then when later on she starts making these like really big wide strides in the arguments,
Mhm.
it was like I was much less willing to walk with her to like to take
Right.
those big steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too, because like what you're saying about each of these like chapters feeling like kind of like their own thing is true. And also at the same time, I had total whiplash because the first 3 chapters are very different from the rest of the book. The first 3 chapters are each like very focused on particular communities. So the first chapter is really focused on Indigenous communities, second is on Black communities, third is on Latino communities, and then after that it like has this abrupt shift where it's about milk, then it's about school lunches, and then it's about advertising. And so like they're 2 very different types of structures, and I was already having a hard time with the structure in the beginning. So in some ways, like that second half worked a little bit better for me, because the thing that I kept thinking in the first half of this book is like I would much prefer this if the chapters had been set up by mechanisms or something, like if instead of each one being like really discreetly kind of assigned to communities, like I was really curious about like what are there like aspects of these community stories that overlap, or like there's kind of common threads. Like, I don't know if that would have worked, but that's just like one of the things that I was thinking. That would have been like, that was like something that I was like really interested in, because I think that's like, and that kind of goes to my bigger question is like how did the USDA happen? Like how did the corporation get involved? Like I just really wanted to get to those mechanisms. But also it reads very differently because those first 3 chapters are so quote heavy. Like they're so, and that's like a thing that happens again and again. And like, I thought that was better deployed, especially, I think the chapter of this book that will stick with me the longest is the school lunches. Because that one, I felt like there was just, that one felt like it had the clearest kind of argument and like understanding of what it wanted to say. Even then, I think there are aspects of it that are really, that needed to be poked at a little bit more or kind of like teased out more. I think like in particular, she doesn't really handle like there's this question of like when they remove the milks, or like there's like this whole situation where I think it was under Obama, they changed the guidelines, the food, like the meals became like smaller and healthier, and students really like rejected it. And so a lot of schools were stopping doing that. And I don't think she like really fully grapples with the consequences of that. Like what does it mean to like try to provide healthier meals, but like they're not necessarily accepted. Like I think that's a big and important question that doesn't really get teased out. And it's actually it's pretty essential. Like you can't be writing about communities and not really engage with their responses to the policies that you're, I think, ostensibly in support of. Like I don't like that was like a big weakness, but it still at least was, you know, it was still overall a chapter that I felt like was trying to argue towards something. Whereas the first 3 chapters felt like stories, but not necessarily like a clear argument.
Completely. I think, and like that was particularly interesting given the nature of like those first 3, like when so much of the like what's going on here is that like the best faith understanding that you can give of some of the choices, like the policy choices that are being made, is that they are like that there's bad choices that are paternalistic in nature, or sorry, like good intentions but paternalistic in, like in some cases. And then obviously you have like sort of like deeply ill intention on the other. But you know, the choices are going to exist across kind of a broad spectrum of those things, right? Like not many things are like ill-intentioned and intention, like, you know, deliberately sort of racist, but then there's this other category of like policy that is much more it is like better intentioned but still bad because of the inherent paternalism of it. And like there's a way in which the discussion of school lunches like still felt like it, but like like it was uncritical because it was like, well, now it's good food. And so it's like there's like more stuff that you have to tease out here. Where is it?
And I think like the answer is like, I think she doesn't feel like the person to do that, which is fair, but like then you can't kind of start going down that rabbit hole, and like that's what's really difficult like with the book.
That is, I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about this or not, but that is a way in which I felt at places like there were things about this book that where it felt like Freeman was like doubting her own ability to be the one to like to make some of the arguments. Like there's like a weird, there's like a strange sort of self-consciousness almost that, but like it's not blatantly acknowledged either. Like there are ways that like I get it, like she is a white woman talking about policies that primarily affect non-white people,
Yeah.
So like if that's a tension, then like you have to own that somewhere. I don't know, but like that was a
Yeah.
tension that
Yeah.
I felt while I was reading it, where I was like, it feels like
Right.
you feel afraid of like talking over people, like the really heavy, like very quote heavy, which is a
Yeah.
fair concern to have. But if that's the concern, then why are you writing the book? Like, then what's the point of
Right.
you being the one to do this if you don't feel like you can be
Yeah.
the one to do this? I don't know. This was like
Yeah.
a hazy, like, no, I don't, I guess
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is,
and I think it's hard for it's in some ways we're doing the same thing because it's like it's
yes.
hard to figure out how to talk about it because I I I appreciate what feels implied. I don't know how true it is, but I'll also like there are aspects of it that are like yeah, it's just like I don't know how to engage with that part of the book because I'm not
Yes.
mad at her for writing this book because I think there's a lot of parts of it that do like need to exist in some form, and I think
Yes.
it's like I don't think it's like right to be like, oh, she can't write this book,
No,
especially
I
like
think
she's
she can.
really
Like,
done the work
yes.
and the research.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. I think she can. It just sometimes feels like she doesn't think she can. Like that was the experience that I had while reading it, but like in
right.
like a very weird, like vague sort of way that like a I don't know, just like an off like a strange, very strange tension there.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, and I felt that most keenly in the chapter on advertising
Uh-huh.
in food, especially when she starts like listing at length like all the black celebrities who have been
Yes.
like flagged to advertise like really unhealthy meals and I think this book is especially at its weakest when it tries to engage with the culture.
Uh-huh.
I did not need all of the episode recaps that are in here of like Abbott Elementary, Fresh Off the Boat. First of all, like they didn't need to be there. They
Right.
also didn't need to be that long.
And
Like,
she didn't engage with it. Like the all of that
yeah,
whole section was to me that stuff to me felt much the same as like it was the same thing as doing very quote heavy stuff in those first three chapters, like
yeah,
because she it wasn't like it was like it felt very presented without comment is this episode of this TV show and this episode of this other TV show and this commercial and
yeah,
this commercial
yeah,
and then this man did a sponsorship and then this person said that about it and like so I was like, well, where are you? Where did you go? Where did like you
yeah,
and
yeah,
like and it would be and she was present in other places. That's the other thing too, where like this book
yeah,
has an authorial voice at times that like appears and disappears
right,
in not like clear at unclear intervals, so like it's unclear why, I guess, like
yeah,
why the authorial voice is like appearing and disappearing other than like this theory that we are like putting forth, which to be clear, like this is pure, I don't know, speculation that like that's what's going on there, but like
yeah.
that's how it felt as a reader.
Yeah, yeah. I think your read of it is more generous. Like I don't know if I necessarily read like entirely the self consciousness there, and but I believe it, and I think that like makes sense because like I mean the Fresh Off the Boat. So she like basically recaps the first episode of Fresh Off the Boat in the context of the school lunch section, and it's to basically briefly illustrate the fact that Asian immigrant kids often feel self-conscious about bringing their lunches to school because like their food will get made fun of. And like as an Indian American, I did not have this issue growing up, but like I know of this as like a big thing that a lot of kids deal with. It's like one of the big diaspora things and like whatever. And it's but like she doesn't really talk about Asian kids at all. Like it's really just like she brings that up and then quickly talks about the fact that we don't have good data on Asian kids because like we're all lumped together as one, which is also ridiculous because
Uh-huh.
like Asia is huge and like has a lot of different cultures in it and a lot of different foods and everything. And so like, and it comes at the end of this essay. Like that's the other thing about it that's like hysterical about it to me. I was like going back through the book again today and was like looking at that and I was like, right, the section was already weird and it came at the end of this
Just like
essay and it
tacked
feels
on.
like that quick like acknowledgement that we all do of like if you read a personal essay from someone, like everyone, like if a white lady writes a thing that has to say like this was a difficult situation for me but also I
Yes.
was very privileged, it's like a
Yes.
version of that
Yes.
but like more of
Yes.
like the like I acknowledge that I'm missing this part of my argument and I have to quickly reference it. So I'm going to talk about the Fresh Off the Boat episode, even though, like you said, she also doesn't really talk about it. She also has like a long recap of like Abbott Elementary, and this one she does somewhat engage with, only to say like, so it's about this episode where they're just struggling with food in the cafeteria and learning that you can't just like grow veggies and bring them in, or make food and bring them in. And it's so long. Yes. So long. And she like uses this as like, she basically, her only like way of dealing with it is to say like, this episode perfectly illustrates how difficult it is for people to like deal with school cafeteria lunches and how bad they are. And it's like,
why aren't you illustrating that? Like, why are we using Abbott Elementary? Like, where's the I want,
and like, what is it about Abbott Elementary's portrayal that's important? Like, I that's like the thing. Like, if you're gonna do like, I think we are the prime audience for like, if you're gonna bring in the culture, bring it. I will love it. I want it. Yes. I would love to see how the racist policies are mirrored in our TV shows and all of that. But that's like not really what it was for. It was just like you said, kind of like, and now that you said that, I'm like, maybe that is the point of it. It is to say like, the people are speaking this. I can't speak for them, but that they have said it on TV shows. And that's also kind of like tough because like, you know, like I will say like on behalf of the diaspora, the fact that we complain about people complaining about the smell of our food is also to some people annoying. Like they're like, that's your problem. Like what? Like it's not like the communities themselves have like a uniform feeling about these experiences.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So like trying on like a TV show to be like, well, this will illustrate the community's like experience is like hard. Yeah. And I don't know. I like, it just, yeah.
The Abbott one is frustrating to me though, because of the like, that's the kind of thing where it feels like illustrating that is part of the work of like this book. Like it just feels like, why are we not talking to school administrators? And like that's like research.
That's like the strongest part of that essay, and the reason why it did stand out for me at some points is she does like, she has this whole section on kids getting shamed for not being able to afford, like not having enough money to pay for school lunches. And I feel like that section is so effectively done because it is like real life examples that like are in the news, or that like where people have had to like do like personally engage with it. Like that is the thing that like most coherently makes her argument.
Yes. And so it just felt so strange, like the pop culture of it all, especially like at that point it's almost like why, like the pop culture of it all is then a separate chapter. Like maybe there's a version of that where like if that's the thing that I was just like, I don't understand why we're doing that here.
Right.
I don't know. The thing that really got me, now we're just like bitching a little bit at this point, but like to that end was like the long list of like people who did Got Milk ads, where I was like, what are we doing here? I think I've maybe told this story before, but when I was in high school, I did a politics nerd summer camp thing at Northwestern, and I had to take like a speech class as part of this. And one of my speeches, the first speech, I think, I ran out of time like while I was working on it, and it was like a history of something that was on the there's this rock that they paint on the Northwestern campus, and I like did a speech about that. And so the first half of it was like written and prepared and was like well researched, and then like near the end I'm like literally just like, it's like dates and then in 1920 they painted it purple, and then in like it like was so bad, and it was bad enough that like my friends like laughed at me about like for the rest of the semester. It was like a recurring joke that I proceeded to just like get up there and read facts about this fucking rock, and that's how I felt. Gave me like stress flashbacks to standing in front of my class, talking about all the times they painted this rock. So anyway,
but now you are the world's foremost expert on how many times they painted a rock.
You know, I've stress blacked it out. I actually can't tell you anything about this rock anymore.
Do you want to take a moment to highlight Caitlin's grievances, because she's had some
yes. My widget didn't work, so
Well, so we have, first of all, that there's a famous McDonald's advertising campaign from the 80s that was directly aimed at Black Americans, um, which I don't know if I remember that one, but I don't know the 80s very well.
Yeah, 80. I don't. I also don't know this
Oh,
one.
there's our widget.
Just put the screen up.
But yeah, I mean, I think like, yeah. And then why use scripted media as an example instead of actual real anecdotes?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
And then also opening with an anecdote about Minnesota schools, but leaving Minnesota off her list of states that fully pay for school meals.
Yeah, she offended. The real crime of this book is that she offended Minnesota, the Minnesotans, including our dear favorite Minnesotan, Caitlin. Uh, so,
Oh, interesting. So the ad campaign was for opportunities to work at McDonald's. I'm gonna look this up right now.
oh, that's interesting. I mean, oh, okay. That's got a whole other dynamic to it there,
Yeah.
which I guess is would be why she would have omitted it, because that feels that's something else. That's a little bit of something else at that point.
I mean, she kind of like gets in that direction where she like talks a little bit about like McDonald's being like a lot of people's like jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there, I guess, are there any examples that she used in terms of like how food policy has been weaponized that felt like strong? Like what were the strongest examples to you?
Um, I mean, I think like I was saying, I think the one like talking about kids being shamed for not paying was like really striking.
Uh huh.
I think also, especially right now with like the SNAP benefits ending
Yes.
soon, just like any discussion about like SNAP and welfare was like really just like very salient. It's not stuff like talking about the image of the welfare queen or anything like that is like not new, but
Yeah.
like it's just it's you can't it's just like overlapping with everything
Yes.
that's going on
Yes.
like right now. So that I think like and so I think there's a way in which even if I didn't like this book, it felt really right to read right now
Yes.
because like it did remind me of the like or it just like made me think I guess about a lot of news right now in that context. And honestly like again not the point of this book at all, like way outside the scope, so like not the point. But it also made me think about like the use of starvation in Gaza as like a
Yeah.
tool, like just like kind of thinking about um yeah, like it in some ways, like part of what was hard about this book is that its point is somewhat obvious that food is a tool, can be a tool of oppression. But I think like there is like, and again, this gets to what the mixed feelings about this book. Like there is value in connecting in collecting these
Yeah.
examples and like putting them together so that like you're just like reminded of right, like none of what we're seeing today is new. This has
Yeah.
been around forever. The US, like one of the things that I remember wondering in the beginning is like it would have been interesting to see if there was something unique about the US in
Mm.
what she was talking about. Like, is there something, and maybe this like kind of to bring it back to surveillance capitalism, one of the things that book did was like
Oh,
connect to,
shake a
like
shot.
the right like she really connected in that book the issues of like everything that's going on now to like certain policies
Right.
in how like companies like stocks and everything were happening. And so like I really felt like from that book I got a sense of like why the US was such a breeding ground for surveillance capitalism.
Right.
And in this context, like I know I get why the US was a breeding ground for racism. And like so it's but I'm curious if there's something about the US that was like specifically like geared towards this particular pathway in terms of how it used food.
Yeah.
Like, is there something about our farmland, something about how the USDA was set up, something like just like anything again mechanistic was really kind of like something about how like why corporations are able to get so involved in our politics. Like all of those are threads that I can like pull in from my other reading.
Right.
But like that was something that I wanted in this book itself.
Yes. I kept thinking about like who this book was for, and again I can't like the answer to me is like a classroom is all I can really think about, because like I agree that there are certain like the sort of basic argument that food is political feels fairly obvious to me. It is not obvious to everyone, but this book doesn't feel like it's interested in talking to the like it's not really making like it's missing again like a lot of setup stuff of how you get somebody to that. Like it's just sort of diving right into like, and here's this example of it, and here's this example of it, and here's this example of it. And so like I'm left just sort of confused as to what the real point was. If you're only trying to convince me that food is political, like, well, I was already with you. And I don't know that I necessarily acquired a ton of useful new like either like ammunition to make that case, or more importantly like you know, now what of it, like that bit at the end was so, it felt like tacked on in this way that was sort of confusing to me. I do think that reading this book right now was, you know, this is hardly the first time this has happened too, where like we picked a book and then like when we went to discuss it, there was like something, you know, when we picked this book, the government had not shut down. The government was still open at the time that we chose this book. So like the cliff that we're on, and in case I don't know how you could possibly be sitting here with us and not know that what is that tomorrow, but just in case you don't know, tomorrow is the day that like people are set to lose their SNAP benefits. And so sitting here in this specific moment, as I'm like, you know, donating to my local food pantry. I'll actually put a link to Harvesters in the video description. You know, you, I'm sure have your own local food pantries that you're like, would like to donate to and support and volunteer at. But like sitting in that moment, in this moment where like we are acutely aware of how like having like a food like a I don't know, structural food vulnerabilities in the way that we do. It's not just individual level choices. There are structural. We see that like when the state is withdrawing support or threatens to withdraw it or like whatever, food security becomes even more tenuous. And like the people who are on SNAP, who are receiving SNAP benefits, like there's already like your food security is already precarious in the first place, and like increasingly more so in this moment. And so like the book's themes about policy and power and racism, like all of that is very of this moment, and like highlighting the, you know, questions about who exactly is millions of Americans are going to lose benefits tomorrow, and like who are those people, like by and large, like you know, lots of like those things. And
I mean, I think at this point sorry, go on.
And like again, to go back to the like the who is this for, right? Like I this doesn't really feel like a book that I would be like, here, like you seem on the fence about why this matters, like here, read this book.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like at this point I just keep writing like dream chapters that I wish that this book.
Well, most of the USDA chapter is the one Deboki really. If you take nothing away from this chat, just know that Deboki really needed a chapter on the USDA. So if you have a great essay, if you have a great essay, an oral history of the USDA, if that exists somewhere, send it to Deboki. That's what she really wants. But what other dream chapters do you have for us?
Yeah, my other dream chapter, like, and I mean, this was just really born of a question that I've been like thinking about, is like it, like, I mean, okay, pointing out the hypocrisy of like a white Christian, supposedly white Christian kind of movement, or like I'm totally blanking on the words, but like, you know, like that clearly is what a lot of people in this administration are like pushing towards, and like how that seems like so in line with an actually very unchristian like country. Like I would love to have had a chapter that explored that in relation to food. Like I would love because
Yeah.
and like she does talk about like this idea that like we should like the US is this country that like is very like pull yourself by the bootstraps, and that's
Uh-huh.
even extended to food, that like your benefits, people think your benefits should be tied to food, like all of this kind of or sorry, to your
To
work.
work.
I would love to see a history of that. Like
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
love to
yeah.
see a section of like how we became a country like that, where and obviously it's not just food, it's health insurance, it's
It's yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything. People are like, you should have this tied to your work. But yeah, that's like the other dream chapter
A
that
sort
I
of
had.
like a guest essay from, I forget her name, but who wrote
Talia,
John
Talia
Wayne.
Lavis.
No,
Oh
that's
no,
right.
no, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
The John Wayne. What the hell is the book
yeah,
called? John.
yeah. We were talking about that book. I remember at some point.
Um, Jesus. American Right. It's I read it on my Jesus and John Wayne.
This is Jesus John Wayne. Yeah.
Jesus and John Wayne, Kristen Gomez Dumez. I wound up just reading it on my own, but it had been a book that
Ooh.
I considered as a nonfiction
Maybe that will be
book.
a book we read at some point.
Yes, yeah.
Because I think we
I'd read it.
talked about it.
I'd read it again. I actually
Yeah.
do highly recommend. That was a
Yeah.
reading that book. No, just recommending other books. It's not that one is not at all about food, but it is like it's basically like how the core of your question of like how did
Yeah.
like American evangelical movement come to this place that like feels pretty profoundly like in opposition to, like, I'm not a religious
Right.
person, but from like I went to Sunday school as a kid, and like the Jesus that
Yeah.
I was raised on feels pretty oppositional to a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Like I want to live in that guy's country. Like,
yeah. That guy, cool. But there, this like weird perversion of that guy, and
right.
like, how did we get there?
Yeah.
Like that. That's actually like that is what that book is about.
Yeah.
So
How about you? You asked me the question of like, were there parts from the book that stood out to me, like in a positive way? I'm curious for you.
I, I think I would agree that the school lunch chapter is the strongest. I struggle because I feel like there were so many. The book kept almost getting there. Like that's the thing
Yeah.
where like I think that there are where it's like onto something and then doesn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think the school lunch chapter is the strongest. I think that there's some like interesting stuff in the like in this sort of the more like example sort of case study of the beginning of those three chapters. I think that like the conceptual framework of Americanization through homemaking is like interesting, that it's almost doing the thing that you were suggesting earlier of like
Yeah.
using a very what's the word you used, like not methodology, but like mechanism, thank you, like yes,
Yeah.
of having of like focus, but she like veers off of it, but she starts out with
Yeah.
like with this kind of focus on like a mechanism there. I thought that was interesting, like that as a, because it's getting at the questions of like how were the people who were making these decisions thinking about it, like what was their actual stated goal, like
Yeah.
and what,
For sure.
you know what, yeah, that, so I don't know, I appreciated that section as well.
Yeah. And then the other section that I think I appreciate, but I don't know if I fully understand it, but I liked its inclusion because it was just kind of like, huh. She has some discussion later on about legal stuff and like kind of the why it's so hard to like
Yeah,
make any progress legally against like these policies, and it's really rooted in the fact that you have to prove that things have a racist intent. Like you
yeah,
can't just look at the outcome of these policies and say they're racist. You have to say from the beginning that they're racist. And that was just like something that was like so like that was like the stuff that felt the most new and foreign to me in a good way of like just like right. I mean I don't know anything about legal arguments.
yeah, yeah,
This sounds potentially like good to think about, but I think it was still not fully there, but that was
yeah,
like another part that I liked too.
yeah, it was like a good takeaway. The
Yeah.
irony is that, so we have spent the like entire, I don't know, 50 minutes, I guess, 45 minutes that we've been on this call, mostly just
Yeah.
complaining about this book. I actually would give it like 3 stars. I maybe like a 2.5 star. It is like a two. This is like a
Yeah,
two and a
yeah.
half star.
I'm
Two
like
and a
at a
half star.
2 to 3, I think. But it was interesting because I don't usually look up Goodreads reviews before we talk, but I did for this one because I was like, am I just dumb? Like, am I the problem here?
Yeah,
Is like
yeah.
what I really wanted to know. And I looked at the 3-star reviews because like I feel like those are often the most like helpful.
Yes.
And I felt like they did adequately cover what I was like frustrated by, where it was like, okay, you like the idea. I think this is like where a lot of my stars for this book come from, is I like the idea of this book.
Same.
I think there's like a yearning in my stars.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Caitlin is asking
yeah.
us to explain the stars.
Yes.
And
Listen,
I think there's like
listen.
a real want to them.
Yes. I respect like the project of it so much, and she it's like almost I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I can't explain them.
Well, I think it's because like it doesn't feel like a 2-star book either.
No.
Like that's the thing that's hard for
Yes.
me. Like it doesn't feel like I don't know. Maybe it's beyond the star system.
It exists on its own. In its own.
It is funny because like
place.
if you okay, I think if I were rating it out of 10, I would give it 4.
Yeah.
So like that is 2 stars. But like rating out of 10 is different than rating it out of
I would give it a 5
stars.
if I would give it a 5 if I was rating it out of 10, which would be 2.5 stars. So yeah. So I don't know. I mean, okay, but like thinking about other things that I had sort of meh feelings, I would reread this book before I reread the Egg book.
Interesting. Yeah, I would reread the Egg book every day. I would listen to select chapters from that again and again.
No, the Egg book, I was like, I'm done.
So this, when we next do our bracket, this is
gonna
beat the Egg book. We're gonna put these together.
Yeah,
They're gonna both be food books.
That's true. I actually think the Egg book, when we vote with the Egg book, will probably actually win. We've got more, I think, science-minded people than
yeah, but I think that like
people.
A lot of people didn't like it. I think it might be
That's
me.
true. That's true. The Egg happened to be your special interest. Yes. Yeah. That's true.
That is a big part of it. Is that it's just my special interest. It's like all the things I love most: evolution, reproduction, and just like weird facts about biology. It was actually just like made for me.
That is what I will say about like where I am coming. Like there are a lot of just like random facts about like that are like significant. I just wanted this book to make a stronger argument, and like that's the thing that I wanted this book to make a stronger argument, and I'm annoyed because it's not even a thing where like there are some. And this is where I keep coming back to, like, why like, it doesn't feel like it's, because normally when we're critiquing the argument, I'm, like, making an argument badly, in real time, so there's something very meta about this, but anyway, normally if we're, like, there have been books where we get to the end and I'm like, what even was the point of this? What was the corporate one, the law, where I was like, I really was like,
Empire Incorporated.
What did he want to say? I don't know, man. Yeah. Way in which, like, there's a way in which, sorry, I just got an error message. It looks like we're fine. Okay. There's a way in, like, I think that my being, like, on board, like, in some ways makes me more critical of it. Like, so I don't know. Like, I think yeah, 2.5 stars. I feel locked in. I feel committed. I'm committed to 2.5 stars. I feel strongly. Okay.
Yeah. There's this book that like this book really reminded me of the experience of reading, and I'm now like fully forgetting what it was, but I remember I reviewed it on my channel a long time ago, like, because I read it for the BookTube Prize, and it was this horrifying book about the use of rape in war, and it was a book that it's just like a horrible reading experience because this, like, in terms of the subject,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It is
yeah.
like very, yeah. But like my problem with the book ultimately was like that it felt uh, like it just never fully engaged with the questions that it actually wanted to get at about like why does no one care, what is the role of the media in like reporting on these stories, and like a lot of these like really thorny questions. And that's a lot of what this book reminded me of, especially
Right.
because especially in those first few chapters, like it is also like really heavy. It's a lot of very heavy detail, so there's a lot of thank you, Caitlin. Yes, please find me. It just like reminded me of like that experience of like how of reading like really heavy stories, but not feeling like there was a good like solid takeaway for why these stories were being put together
Uh-huh.
in that way. And like I think the really reductive way to talk about that is call it like trauma porn, which and I think in
Mm.
both cases is like a little bit ungenerous to what the goals of the book are. And
Right.
I think it gets to what's actually really difficult, which is that I think like both of these books are really trying to highlight something that like I fundamentally agree should be highlighted. Like you're saying, like you like agree with the argument, but it's like the book itself is not doing it in a way
Yeah.
that like gets there. And it's
Yes.
so hard because like obviously like the I feel like the other reductive response to that is like, well then you should write it. But like
Well,
I do want her to be the person who
yes,
writes it because
yes,
clearly she knows a lot about it.
yes,
I
yes,
just want the version that like helps me understand the things that
yes,
she knows and why they like make her so committed to her argument.
yes.
Yes, Our Bodies, Their Battlefields. That was a very intense book. Uh, Maybe one of the worst reading experiences I've had, just because it's, I
Mm.
mean, like, it's just like a really difficult book to read.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
sorry, that's besides the
No,
point. Uh,
that's so. Yes, yes, yeah. Extremely fair. I mean, yes, there are like many places that this was a difficult book to read, but not maybe probably not as gruesome as that. I would assume.
no, yeah, but it is still like I mean, the first few chapters are actually pretty
Yes,
gruesome because, like,
yes,
especially in the context of Indigenous people and Black people, like they're talking about food as coercion for
yes,
basically for rape or for
yes,
murder, like all of these things where it is like really horrifying.
yes.
So
Um,
yeah,
yeah. One of the things that this is a really hard pivot that I'm about to make. Uh, one of the things, I feel like I gotta say that. One of the things that we discussed last time was predicting whether or not this would inspire more or less existential dread than
yeah.
uh, oh, sorry. Caitlin says, for me, I think that the milk chapter did the best job of describing how these policies were specifically rooted in white or lactase persistent privilege. But the chapter as a whole still, yes. I agree. I think that I agree, I agree that the chapter as a whole didn't work. I actually think that like, the that to me was that what was a chapter where I felt like the argument was like particularly weak. Like I think
Mhm.
that was a place where this problem of I agree with what you're getting at here, but you have not made this case. Like you have not made
Right.
this case. That like
Yeah.
your case here is like milk is a tool of white supremacy. And
Yeah.
like I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. I agree. It's really hard. I think the milk chapter had the most potential to be interesting because there is this interesting cultural thread of like white supremacists
Yes.
embracing milk. And
Yes.
like now you could also get into the raw milk of it all. Like
Yes.
there's a lot
Yes.
there I would love to
Yes.
see unpacked. But it is also really frustrating as a chapter, like coming from like one of the cultures that probably like has a little bit more lactose intolerance, but also like we use milk in a lot of stuff. Like what it doesn't fully square with like the fact that a lot of these cultures do still use milk. Like what is it like? Yeah, like it just it's one of like I think it's like kind of like you were saying like that sort of like self-consciousness,
Yes,
maybe, of like
that's yes,
knowing that this is
100%.
like outside the bounds of like what she feels comfortable talking
Yes.
about, but like can't really engage across that, like
Yes.
that
I
barrier, I guess.
that is the chapter where I most acutely felt like that awareness, that sense of like, it gives the vibe of you know, as a woke white lady, it's like that's the
Yeah.
this the vibe of
Yeah.
like, well, I'm recognizing my privilege as somebody who can digest dairy, and I will
Right.
now
Yeah.
like I don't know, just in ways where it's like I don't think I'm with the thing that you're setting up, but you didn't do it. Like you didn't it just didn't
Yeah.
it didn't get all the way there. I don't know. I feel
Yeah.
like actually genuinely bad for how much time we've spent shitting on this.
Yeah, I mean that's like part of the, like, again, like that's where we have the yearning 3 stars, where
Yes.
it's like there's like so much about what I like this book that I really wanted to work.
Yes.
And it's like really all in the details.
Yes.
Like it's like yeah, I get why people love this book, because I think it like satisfies a certain like desire for this knowledge to be assembled
Yes.
together, but I just didn't like the way it was put together.
No, same.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't bring it all home.
Yeah.
Which is
But yeah, so the existential dread question.
Yeah. I think that I actually think that the Gwyneth Paltrow book did inspire more existential dread, and that's only because it was existential dread that I hadn't previously been sitting in. You know what I mean? Like this book, and especially because I obviously read this over the last couple days. As, you know, that's who I am. So like reading this book in a moment in time where I am also getting like, you know, hours a day of like discussion about SNAP benefits lapsing. Like that is the context in which I am reading this book. Right? Is that like every time I open my phone, it's just a lot of like here's what you do, right? So then I sat down to read this book and it was like, yep. that's so this is not actually it's like not really commentary on I was about to say on either of these books. It is still commentary on the Gwyneth Paltrow book. It's not really a commentary on this book that it inspired less existential dread, but
I think it's because the dread that this inspired is more imminent. Like existential.
It's not existential. Like... That's the thing. This is not inspiring any existential dread. Like this is this book is speaking pure to dread. The dread that I currently feel, and it didn't even do
it's
it
not
as
even
well
dread.
As
it's horror, right?
Horror,
it's like, it's just like
Whereas the Gwyneth Paltrow book was like, I don't know. It was like, here's this like strange new way that a person can be evil. Here's like a kind of evil you hadn't really considered before. I think that was the experience.
I also want to give an update because I know not everyone here follows the blogs, the celebrity world, as much as I do. Gwyneth Paltrow did not read the Gwyneth Paltrow book.
Okay.
Her husband did. Okay. And I guess read select passages. She was really mad about it. She said that it was really badly written, and she complained because she was like, why do like men get, what's his face? It's Walter Isaacson, is that? Yeah, Walter Isaacson, the guy who wrote the Elon biography, I think the Steve Jobs one. And she's like, why do they get him and I get this hack? And I just really loved that for her.
Wow. It's claiming, doing a misogyny while claiming misogyny. That's wild.
I love it,
and extremely on brand. It's like extremely so on brand. Yeah. Like so, like what a way to prove the point. Incredible work, actually. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us for. Okay, Walter Isaacson did write... Yeah, okay, so...
Yes, he did write Jennifer Doudna's biography, which I also thought was kind
of... That's for a different hater hour. Speaking of future...
Announcing our next one. For ladies.
What are we reading next? You want to tell the people?
Oh, yeah. we are reading, let me pull up the full title. We are reading Bad Company, Private Equity and the Death of the American Dream by Megan Greenwell, which is about private equity
and the death of the American dream.
Yeah. We're really working. I think we're like at this point we're trying to compete to see
who can
like up the dread.
Right.
We're gonna like have to do a tier ranking next year instead of a March Madness. We're gonna be doing a tier ranking of dread.
Yeah. That's the frame will be which book made you feel the most dread. Here, look. That's our book. Okay, great.
And I think we are doing the first week of December.
First weekend of December is the plan. It's the current plan. So
we will send that out.
We'll we'll see. That's the current plan, the current promise. Who can say?
Yeah.
Not us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye.
Bye.